Hey, stay right there because today I am with conversation with strategic consultant, marketing communication expert, brand consultant. Those are very important things, and what we will cover today. My with me is I'm not talking about that. My name is Mohammed Bashir, and my today's guest is Joel Alpert. Please help me welcome Joel Alpert.
I'll help you.
Welcome, Joel.
He's great. Yeah. Hello.
Joel, let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who are what happened? Who are you surrounded with that inspired you to do what you do today?
Okay. So for me, it was an evolution. I worked with some of the best people in the field in New York City before I moved to Atlanta. And I worked with, for example, one guy named John Francis Ty, who's one of the best direct response copywriters in the world. Took his class. He loved me, sponsored me, helped me get my first job at one of the top advertising agencies in the world, which was insane. So people who are really good inspired me. Really good creative directors inspired me. Really good strategists, and two other people were Bob Stone, who wrote a book called Successful Direct Marketing Methods, the Bible of that industry. And another one was Robert Fritz, a gentleman who I studied with for 15 years on and off. He's a strategic genius, and they absolutely inspired me. And I've kind of put this all together. So I'm a little bit of a strategist, a little bit of a creative director, a little bit of a copywriter, maybe a lot of any of those. But I really think that it's important to address business in a holistic way so that you can really develop some perspective on something. Nothing is done by just some quick, isolated piece in a business. Everything is integrated and should be integrated. So all these people had tremendous influence, and I'm grateful for all those folks for the influence they've had in developing my career.
What are top three mistakes to avoid?
Top three mistakes. One, don't be automatically closed to ideas. I used to have this, that's number one. I used to have this poster on my wall. It had this big, giant green dragon, and it said 99 idea killers. And it had every possible excuse you could have for like why your idea is stupid, dumb, won't work, can't be afforded, a million trillion, except 99, ideas about why they were wrong and dumb. And that's a bad place to start. If you stay open to everything, you may find ideas that could be executed and get beyond the limitation. And don't start with the limitation. That's first. Second, I'll just do two more things real quick. Formulaic thinking. If you do anything by formula, you're looking for a certain type of thinking, and you get locked in right away, and it's not good. You want to be able to ask a really open-ended question and really get an open-ended answer, because you'll find much more information there. And the last thing that I would say is think holistically. Make sure that when you're looking at one thing, some marketing campaign that you're trying to do, just as an example, as a strategist, when I do a direct marketing campaign, I know that I'm going to move the needle with the campaign. And even though it's not my purview, I also want to know, are the guys in fulfillment ready to deal with this issue? Are they ready to help you with the order? Are they ready to ship your order? Are you guys ready to provide the service? So you always have to think holistically to have a successful campaign. I can't hear you.
What is your greatest failure story? What did you learn and how did you recover from it?
I think probably my greatest failure story. It's great to tell a failure story because, failure stories don't have to be like, oh God, my life fell apart and I never recovered and I died poor and penniless and I hate myself. a failure story can really be, I learned something. So I think probably my biggest failure was getting to the top of the direct marketing field in New York City, some of the top advertising agencies in the world, being told that I was young and I was good and I'd get hired, but I would be the first to be fired if clients were lost. And in fact, that happened. So I was working with the greatest clients in the world, the biggest names, clients you see on television all the time. I sometimes did television. I sometimes did direct mail, ads, whatever. And I was doing great stuff. But when it came, like companies like AT&T, Vanity Fair, Weight Watchers Magazine, House and Garden, every big bank and telecom you could think of. But when an agency loses business, they look to cut staff, and I got fired. I was devastated, and I was just, even though I knew better, even though they told me you're going to get cut because you're the young guy in the company, I was pretty devastated for a really long time, and I didn't learn till later that it didn't have that much to do with me. It had, because I was doing some great work, especially for a young guy. But it didn't have to do with me. It had to do with the machinations of the business. So I learned that A, doesn't always have to do with you, and B, I learned a standard of work that was very high in working with some of the best people in the field. And it's very hard to, like what they say, go back to the farm. It's very hard to just do junk after you're used to doing good work. And that was a great standard to be held to. And I really enjoyed working for those companies. That's what I learned.
What are top 3 secrets that others can follow?
Top 3 secrets. One is have this image sometimes when a client comes to me and says, just do this thing. And I don't want to just do that thing because I don't think that thing is going to work very well. So I want to be the champion of my client. I want to be able to be the knight in shining armor who comes in the shiny, with the white horse and the shiny armor, and waves his sword and get something done. So one thing is be the client's advocate, be the knight in shining armor. Next is I want to make sure that that you really explain and engage at the same time. So if you have a clever ad that doesn't make any sense, it doesn't help the client. It's clever, and you win an award, and all your peers say that's wonderful, but it's got to impact your audience. So it's got to be impactful so that they get it, and also on the other side, it's got to be clear and engaging. So just one headline that comes to mind really quick is I did a headline for Kimberly-Clark, and it was an asbestos removal garment, something that they put on when they clean out asbestos sites, and it keeps them protected from the cancerous asbestos. So I'm dealing with an audience of technical people who are comparing what we're doing to other options that they have, other kind of asbestos removal garments. And the headline that I wrote for them was, most asbestos garments are full of hot air. So it tells them most other people keep the hot air in, don't allow the person to breathe properly, and being that double entendre there about being full of hot air shows that it's not as good, that it's not as breathable, and the people who understand this stuff get it right away, and it's clever. So when you combine all these things together, it really makes a difference. So I'm always looking to to combine a good explanation and a good clarity that's engaging.
Wonderful. Give me one more.
One more. And this was 3 things that you could do from a 3 tips.
Yeah, three success secrets.
So one of these is something that I learned from my consulting mentor, Robert Fritz. And he used to say, he still says, always have a place to go. So just like before I mentioned, yeah, I'm doing this campaign. I have a targeted campaign. I'm putting out 160,000 pieces of direct mail. And I'm wondering, what happens when people start responding? Do the people on the back end really know how to deal with those phone calls, emails, reply forms, however they're responding? Do they really have it together? Can I do anything on my side as a marketer to help them process the orders more easily? So always think ahead about where we're going with the next step, even if it's not my responsibility. You know, integrity is about taking the steps that people would like you to take if they thought to ask the question. So sometimes they may not anticipate it, but I may, and I'm going to mention it to the client. And if I can spend a few minutes in a meeting straightening something out and developing something really powerful as a next step for a client, I want to do that.
Joel, we are entering into a speed round. That means short questions and quick answers. Are you ready for it?
Can they be more than one word?
Yeah, sure they can.
Okay, good. Short answers you want. Okay, here we go. I'm ready.
What is the most impactful business book you have read, and what did you learn from it?
100%. The Path of Least Resistance for Managers. There's another one with a similar name. This is, I think, the best business book ever written. A quick principle from that book is structural tension, right? So I want to go somewhere in my business. That's my goal, my end result. I'm also know this is where I'm at in relationship to this goal. There's a tension, there's a natural tension because I'm not where I want to go. So they're separate places. So there's three ways to resolve this tension. One, give up reality and only talk about, where I want to go and how great things are going to be when I get there. That's being out of touch with reality. That's being a fool. Okay, it's not a good idea to only be a Pollyanna and think great things, everything's going to be great. The next one is be a pain in the ass. Okay, how are you a pain? By only thinking about things the way they are, and you never think about the future and any kind of growth and movement. That's the way things are attitude, right? And that's a terrible attitude. I hate that. So there's no tension in when you only have one of those points selected. So when you do two of them and you're clear about where you're going and where you're at, and you know that they're different, this is a tension that seeks resolution. If you can hold this tension and hang out with the discrepancy of not being where you are, it's huge because you will find the really good answers that you're looking for. You just don't want to resolve that tension prematurely. And when you do, you move from where you are, which is this current reality, to where you want to go, and you accomplish your goal. How about that? Cool idea, huh? I love that. I love that structural thinking.
What do you want to be remembered for?
Oh man, what do I want to be remembered for? I want to be remembered for a guy who made a difference in a lot of different businesses, and I want to be remembered for being funny.
How do you overcome a challenge like throws at you?
How do I deal with challenges how do I deal with the challenge that's thrown at me?
How do you overcome a challenge like throws at you?
So for me, it's kind of funny. I will tend to get stuck on something sometimes, and then the minute I know that, I go, wait a second, I'm really stuck. My clarity about being stuck, instead of having it be like a simmering, pot on the stove, and it's like kind of bubbling quietly, and that'll go on for a long time if I let it. Then all of a sudden I wake up and I go, wait a second, what am I doing? I'm all stuck with this. The minute I say I'm stuck with it, I start really actively pushing for some other solution. So for me, it's mostly really waking up to the fact that, that I'm just, that I'm stuck and I'm just going to move on.
What do you want to do when you grow up?
I'm not growing up. Period. I'm just not growing up. What do I want to do? It's what I want to do when I grow up is what I'm doing now, which is evolving. So years ago, I started out in this business as a direct marketer, and I was working for the best advertising agencies in the world. I then quit that world and did it on my own. I started consulting in that world. I started adding skills. I started developing strategy and branding skills. I started studying with my mentor. I changed the business model where I was mostly on strategy and branding and less on direct marketing. Now I do all those things, and I'm continuing to evolve, and that continues to evolve when I'm learning new skills that I think are of value to my clients or to me. I'm learning it and I'm incorporating it, and that's what I want to do when I grow up.
Once you have a revenue generating idea, how do you convince your significant other?
It's almost like I don't think that way, because there's no significant other involved in business that's not a business person. So sometimes I'm involved in consulting with a client and they have a significant other and they're just they're part of the business. And I know that they're married and they go home and I have to deal with them as a couple. But normally business is business, and I deal with any significant other as a factor in the business who happens to have a marriage relationship or a significant other relationship. And I deal with it that way.
What are you grateful for today?
Number one with a bullet, as they say. I'm grateful for my friends. I think that what's the expression? Friends of the family you choose. Right? So I choose my friends. I love my friends. I have friends that have such deep relationships with a married couple and their kids, or other single people, or other, other wide variety of people, young and old, that I interact with, and I really appreciate all of them. I'm also grateful for good comedians who I laugh at and with, and good consulting mentors who have also, the comedians taught me a lot. They really, you can learn a lot from comedy, but I'm also quite grateful for the brilliant consulting mentors from multiple fields that I've learned from, and it's a variety of people, mostly people.
Who is your living mentor and what is the impact they have on you?
Definitely the living mentor is this guy, although this is a book. This is not a living mentor itself. This is his work. And his name is Robert Fritz. And I studied with him for over 15 years. Every kind of imaginable way of learning his approach, called structural dynamics. It's how things are related to each other in any kind of an ecosystem. So I am good at business strategy. I'm good at marketing communication. I'm good at helping my friends pick a place for dinner, because I know how to think a certain way based on his influence, and it's been tremendous. His influence has been tremendous. It's been the biggest influence on any of my mentors.
Can I interview your mentor, Robert?
Hell yeah. Good luck. That'll blow you away.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, that's up to him, but as far as I'm concerned, you can.
Okay. Why is being impactful important to you?
What's been most important to me? Why is being impactful important to me?
Yeah.
Well, to use his thinking, to use my mentor's thinking, what's the opposite of being impactful? Right? If you think about what's in the negative space, what's around the opposite of being impactful, it's being a slug, and I don't want to be a slug. I don't want to be someone who just did something, like, what do you have? You want hamburgers? Yeah. You want fries with that? Yeah. Okay, great. I mean, I appreciate when I order something and someone helps me, but that's not the kind of person that I want to be. I'm not an order taker. I want to have impact. I want to guide people I work with. I want to interact with them. I want to find out what motivates them. I want to help them achieve what they want to achieve. I want them to help me achieve what I want to achieve. I want there to be a real impact in my life. And I don't want to just be oh yeah, right. That guy. Yeah, we just buried him. That's nice. I want to be remembered for a guy who had an impact. I'm not ready to be buried yet.
How do you start your day?
Well, the first answer is coffee for sure. 100% coffee. Second answer is I kind of like knowing that I don't have an absolute structure for. Sometimes I have a structure for that particular day, but every one of my days is different. One day I'm doing business strategy, then it's creative direction, then it's copywriting, then it's designing a website with a web developer, then it's marketing communication plan. It varies so much that every day is different. But when I can, I like to start the day with a workout. If I can't get it in the beginning, I like to end my day that way, or at least my business day, and just blow it out at the gym.
Who is your ideal client?
My ideal client is someone who is willing to think. They don't want to just they don't want to like walk it through mindlessly. To use the analogy, they want to walk the walk. They want to talk the talk. They really want to get it done. They want to look at. They really want to tap my skill, not just say, "Could you build me a website? Could you rebrand my company? Yeah. Tell me what you're thinking. Why do you want to do it? What's different about you? Why do I care about anything that you're doing? Do you care about what you're doing? I want that. So an ideal client is somebody who really is willing to engage and think and really be alive.
What would you advise to what is the advice you would give to your younger self?
Get your shit together now. Don't wait till later. It's there's so many things. I would have looked at alternative ways to do my business earlier. I would have celebrated my relationships with some of my mentors earlier. I would have realized the value of them earlier. It took a while for it to seep in. Like when I realized some of the impact that these folks had, and how much of an impact it was actually having on me, I would have pursued those things a little bit more.
How can we support you?
You can tell everybody about the unbelievable, there you go, marketpoweronline.com that they can go to. And I've spent some time writing that. So it really has unique perspective. And drill down and go play on marketpoweronline.com. Also, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Joel Alpert 123, ALPERT. Joel Alpert 123 on LinkedIn or Market Power Online, and come visit. Take your shoes off.
What would you say about your guest experience on the show today?
It was the best experience that I've had today, for sure. But it was a lovely conversation. I appreciate you throwing it around with me, and it's a very nice for you to be doing this and having conversations with people and maybe getting some value out of some of your conversations. I looked at some of your other interviews and appreciate them, and it was a lovely experience.
What would you say as a final word?
As a final word, two things. One, take vitamin D and zinc. COVID, take vitamin D and zinc. They help you slough off the virus. I've been vaccinated. I'm for it. but still take vitamin D and zinc. They help a lot. And second thing is we're really adversarial in this environment right now. The hell with that. I'm glad you have an opinion. Opinions are like belly buttons. Everyone has one. But you don't have to fight somebody to beat them into submission with your opinion. Okay? So where does that net out? Be kind. Be nice.
Thank you so much, Joel Alpert, for your time and wisdom on the behalf of Entrepreneur Empowerment Club and its entire team. We really appreciate you.
My pleasure. Nice talking with you, Bashir. Muhammad.
I hope our path cross again with another amazing guest. Until then, you have a wonderful time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for doing this with me. Appreciate it.